Welcome, everybody. Sorry about that little glitch there at the beginning. I double-clicked. The finger just went too fast there. I double-clicked. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Life Between All or Nothing. I'm Scott J.
I'm Mary Kay.
And we are your hosts who only want to tell you that if you're not living your best life, you're just one decision away from doing that. Never too late to make changes in your life. Never too late. The only one that's keeping you stuck and the only limitations you have are the ones you put on yourself. So we just need everybody to know that. We have both, if you haven't heard our stories, we've both been through it. We've both been at low points in our lives where we had to make decisions to change. And, well, it's working out good for me. How about you, Mary Kay?
Oh, it's working out good for me, too. Thank you. Here in midlife, it's working out great.
I see. It's only midlife if you know how long you're going to live. So I've decided I'm going to live to 170. So I'm pretty much in my 20s now.
Oh, boy.
I just want, you know what? And when we talk about this stuff, I just want to tell everybody, because even Mary Kay and I were talking ahead of time before the show, and she's busy and I'm busy. And we just, sometimes we even just like a little bitch moan for a moment, like, oh my God, I got so much to do. But you know what? When you are living a good life, even when you have those times, it's not as hard to deal with, is it?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Scott. I think that, many of us have busy lives, and especially some of us that are, we're kind of straddling two worlds, right? I've got a kid in university. I'm in my 50s. I've also got aging parents that I'm helping. So we're that sandwich generation, I think they call us. And there's lots of stuff going on. And in order to be able to do all the things that you want to do, we have to be resilient. And there are many things that we can do to become resilient and to stay healthy, no matter what comes at us.
That's right. That's right. You know what? It's one thing to stub your toe when you're walking around and your head's low and you're sad. It's another thing to be at Disney World and going on every ride and then stubbing your toe. You react to both of those things differently, because in one case, you're not happy to begin with. The other case, you're doing something you love. And so what if you stub your toe? You keep going. So yeah. I just want everybody to know that. And speaking of, you said crazy parents. Is that what you said?
No, aging parents.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking about crazy parents, because Sandy Mom is with us. This is my mom.
All right.
Hi, Scott,
Sandy
Mary.
Mom. Hi.
And to me, you're both still kids. Okay. Well, thank you.
Oh,
We appreciate
that's
that.
beautiful. Thank you.
And our buddy Jacques, aka,
hey,
is with us.
What's
Jacques,
up, Jacques?
how are you, brother? And we'll mention the gray movement a little bit later in the show.
Sure.
But right now, I'm really excited because we've been getting some really good guests. But I think I'm really excited about this one because, the little bit of talking we did beforehand and reading her bio, she's got an energy that I just can't wait to tap into. So why don't you tell us about it, Mary? Tell us about it.
I will. I actually have it here in my tablet. Let me just grab that. So today we are going to meet Nadia. She's the empowerment coach and mindset maven who believes that confidence is the sexiest thing you can wear. With a knack for helping clients gain clarity around decision-making and a sassy, no-nonsense approach, Nadia empowers individuals to get real with themselves, overcome limiting beliefs, and make bold choices in their lives. Through a unique blend of mindset mastery and strategic goal setting, Nadia helps clients unleash their inner power at the subconscious level, creating lasting transformation. So that's a little bit about our guest.
All right. Before we bring her up, Karen Hurley is joining us, my business
Hi,
partner
Karen.
and friend. Karen is with us. So, hey, let's bring Nadia in. All right.
Let's.
Yay,
Woo.
Nadia.
Nadia,
Hi,
good to
guys.
see you. Good to see you.
I'm not muted, am I?
No, you are
No,
not.
you're not.
Okay, hi guys. Thank you for having me. I'm so
Hi.
excited.
So you're not nervous about this, because you've been doing some social media stuff already, right?
I
It's
better
some.
not. I
You're
better not be nervous about this. I'm an empowerment coach.
That's right. That's right. Oh,
Well, I mean, but we're human. We still have moments of
Yes,
a little bit of insecurity,
absolutely.
a little bit of nervousness, but
Yes,
but
yes.
you have strategies and skills to deal with that, and that's how you
yeah.
help people, right?
You're right, Scott. It's not that I never get insecure or afraid. It's about doing it anyways, right? But I just got really comfortable with you guys from the get-go here, so I'm good because of that.
Yeah, she's already planning a trip down here to Florida.
Perfect. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm there. We're coming down.
But there are rules in Florida. We only allow Canadians in here from November until the end of April. So you got very little time to get here. After that, then no more Canadians. We're just
because it's too hot.
That's the worst of our weather. So we're there, right, Mary?
Yeah, we're there. As soon as the snow starts, we're there.
So,
yes.
Nadia, tell us a little bit about, kind of a little Reader's Digest, who you are and what you do and where you're coming from here.
Okay. Wow, that's a loaded question. Let me just start with.
Yeah. Who are you? That's a tough one.
Who am I? I've always hated that question at interviews. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I am. I'm Nadia, an empowerment coach now, but what I was back in the day, I became a child and youth worker when I was in my early 20s. I graduated from college, and that's basically social work, whatever, counseling, but specializing with children and youth. And, I always say that we choose our careers most of the time based on our childhood wounds or trauma. And for me, that was true because I had a very, difficult, lonely, sad childhood, challenging childhood. So I basically thought, hey, let me help kids who are suffering too. And, I started working at the school board, worked there for 25 years. And the one thing that
Okay.
She went dark.
I don't know.
Apparently, Canada was turning off the lights. It's nighttime. Let's just go to bed.
I know. You know what? I should have put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and now I don't know how to do that because. Okay, so hopefully
it's okay.
nobody.
You know what?
It's
if
okay.
you black out again, we know that you're popular and people are calling you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, you guys are so chill. I intuitively knew that. See that's why I'm so comfortable. Okay, so basically, so the one thing that I noticed the whole time that I was there was that I started to realize that children adults are just children in bigger bodies because the educators and the parents were having the same issues that the kids have, right?
Yeah.
Adults are having the same tantrums, walking around having these silent tantrums. And so then I really started to observe and I was always very intuitive.
No.
She's very popular.
She's very, very popular. Yeah.
That's such a brilliant statement that she just made. There you go. Go ahead.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So my job was actually to, work with the behavioral kids with mental health issues and to, whatever. I was that person that had an office and I would have to do damage control. But what I realized is that I needed to create a social emotional intelligence program to empower them. So I was always into empowerment. Anyways, 25 years later, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I love my adults. I want to work with adults. So I decided to take some additional courses like NLP, mindfulness, hypnotherapy, life coaching. And so that's me. And I went through my own childhood wounds, trauma, awakening to get me to where I am now. And that's why I help people in this way.
That is fantastic. Wow. That is fantastic. And I'm glad the point you made, which was such a good point, and the way you said it, rarely do people actually think about this, that adults and children, it's the same problems. We just, as adults, we label it different. I have a right to be mad. I have a right to yell and scream. I have a right, and as a child, we're like, get over it, stop, and everything else. But we're throwing the same tantrums. The tantrum is no different from a 5-year-old to a 50-year-old if you're going to throw a tantrum. But we pretend it's different, and we think we're entitled to be crazy, I guess is the word, or to lose our shit every once in a while. We're entitled as adults, but it's just a great correlation. I've never heard it put quite that way, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And isn't it funny?
I was going to say, I've got a question for you, because you mentioned you went through your own stuff. So, 25 years ago, you were child youth worker. Now here you are as an empowerment coach and many other great things as well. That low period that you referenced, can you tell us about that? I want to know what did that look like, and how are you here now? Like, how did you get from there to here?
Yes, thank you. So that, like I said, that journey took me until probably my mid-30s. I went to college, graduated, started working, got married, had kids, walked on the sidewalk, all that kind of stuff. And what happened was we make the biggest decisions of our lives, right, when we're in our 20s. And I made my decisions based on not being aware, not being conscious, right? All I knew was that I had a shitty childhood and I need to create a better future for myself. So everything that I did not have, love, loyalty, encouragement, belonging, family, all that kind of stuff, you better believe I'm going to create it, I said. So I married a person based on my trauma that I brought even though I was very diligent as a wife, as a mom, because I wanted that kind of life. I was so ready to just have a family because I was so desperate for that. And so it was codependent, right? We always attract somebody, right? So then my husband had different trauma, and it conflicted with mine, obviously, because isn't that a match made in heaven? And I was very serious about parenting, and he wasn't, just a lot of stuff, right? So anyways, the same thing that I went through as a child, not being loved, not being supported, not all of that kind of stuff, and other things like being abusive and all that kind of stuff, I experienced that again in my marriage. So I recreated what I ran away from because it was my soul wanting to evolve. So we cannot run away from anything, right? This is what I learned, that we have got to really face up to and be conscious, right? And who does that in their 20s? Like,
nobody.
Not me.
Nobody.
Not me.
Nobody.
Nobody knows that. They have to go through their trauma first, right? Like even more trauma. But the one thing is that we need to remember is that if your lessons in life will be repeated until learned. But we don't look at it that way. So back to your question, Mary, the moment of clarity, of rock bottom, of complete presence was I was in my bedroom, and my husband was on the phone with my mom. They were really mad at me because I left my religion.
Oh boy, yeah.
Because I got to that point where I was like, what literally is this? So back up a little bit, maybe a year. I was like, what is this madness? Like, I'm literally re-experiencing the same shit, like literally. So I'm just like, then I became really present and really conscious and just awakened and worked on myself. And then I realized that, hey, when you ask, the universe answers, right? So I found myself in this meditation center, and I went there for about 10 months. And what it did for me was it made me realize a lot of things, right? The whole time I was there, I was taking what I took out of it and leaving the rest. But at the end of it, it was not even a gradual shift. It was all of a sudden, it was an aha moment. Wow. And that was, I had to leave the conditioned beliefs that I was raised with. I had to leave the box that I was placed in at birth.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, like such a small thing was my second rock bottom, like before the awakening part. And I was like, Why are they talking about me? Again, I don't have loyalty. I literally got married so I can experience loyalty, and I'm not even experiencing loyalty. So I'm out of here. That one thing, because I was grappling with divorce for many years before this. And it was that moment that I said, I am done. Complete presence, complete clarity. Yes.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's
clarity.
What were you saying? You're going to, what's learned, or you were saying something about that, about, it kind of reminds me of something that somebody was taught to me is, if you forget to remember, you're doomed to relive.
Yes.
And what I did was I kind of put a lot of things in a box from my childhood and from my early addiction and things like that. And what I became was very violent and abusive. And, I became the thing that I was always afraid of. And because I shut blinders, I closed off that part of my life, and I wouldn't think about it or talk about how I felt. And it wasn't until, when my sobriety really came in and I started working with people, and then I started to understand that it's people are trying so hard to close the door on their past, instead of leaving it open, because it's a part of who we are. But to be comfortable to walk through it, to be comfortable to look at it, to be comfortable to say, this is me, this is what I went through, and it's okay. But I think a lot of people try to get to that point where when they reach those points, they're like, I just want to pretend that none of that happened and start over. That doesn't work, does it, Nadia?
No, and that's an amazing point. And it's because we were conditioned, right? How many times have we heard our parents say, or anyone, or maybe even we said that to our kids, don't cry. Here's some ice cream. Let's make it all better. You'll be fine. You're okay. Nobody wants to know if we're not doing well, because it's there's so much shame attached to not feeling great. Right?
Yeah.
So it's our caregivers, or their caregivers, were not comfortable with their feelings. So they were not comfortable with our feelings. And then we're not comfortable with our kids' feelings. So it's generational trauma. It's societal conditioning. And in order to be that cycle breaker, we have to wake up. And the only way around it is through it, just like you said, Scott. The only way around it is through it.
Mary Kay, you talk about it all the time, that culturally there's a lot of things that you brought with you into your adult life that weren't you. And that was a struggle for you too, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I know we are a production, or a product rather, of our environments. We are a product of the things that happen to us, the things that we see. And like you said, Nadia, those things become programmed into you. And some of those things have a little bit of universality in particular culture. So my background is Greek. And so there's a script for how Greek girls should be. There's a script for how Greek boys should be. And we're actually treated differently by our parents in those named roles, right? So at some point, I know I had internalized a lot of that, so that when I was away from my parents and not living in their house anymore, I brought that with me, and I became that person that would discipline or bully myself, even in some cases. I became my own bully. I escaped the bullying from my childhood, and then I became my own bully, up here and over and right here. So yeah, definitely there's some
right?
cultural aspects to it. And self-gaslighting. Definitely, that's true.
It's funny how we don't even notice the switch over from people bullying us to us bullying us.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
Because the voices just keep going. And it's you don't even realize that's not Bob's voice anymore, or Tom's voice, or Mary's. Well, Mary's here. Or somebody else's voice.
Good one.
It's not their voice. It's my voice. It's my own voice that is keeping me stuck. And that's why I say that our limitations are only what we place upon ourselves. Lynn is with us. I want to say hi to Lynn Serrano.
Lynn.
And of course, the great Barbie is with us. She started joining us a couple weeks ago. Glad you're with us, Barbie. All right. So Nadia, I mean, this is great, but it's hard to imagine you in that box right now. Mary, tell me if I'm wrong, but you seem like somebody who's just light in life, and this energy. the transformation must have been monumental.
It was amazing. Like I have to say though, I always was told that I have great energy, right? So even when I had all of those problems and I was suffering in silence and I was a people pleaser with imposter syndrome,
Mm.
I was always that happy-go-lucky person, no matter what. But the change, like now I feel so confident from the inside. Like I was really lacking that at that time for all those years. And like you guys were just talking about now about gaslighting, I was the biggest self gaslighter and I didn't even realize it. I was like, oh, you shouldn't be upset about that. You're being sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if we push it away and try to suppress it, it's just going to keep coming back up like the beach ball, you know? But the transformation absolutely was huge, because the one thing that I stopped doing was taking crap from other people,
Mm-hmm.
like completely. And I didn't even know I was a people pleaser, if you could believe that, because I always presented as confident, but I was never a suck up. You know how when you know like suck ups, right? And they're
Yeah.
people pleasers, but they're full on suck ups, right? So I never did that. But I had this autopilot response when people asked me to do something or wear this instead or do that. And I would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. But I didn't even realize, like, I didn't check in with myself.
Yeah.
You know, I
That's a
didn't say,
great,
well, you really, yeah. So it's
yeah,
all about mindfulness. It's being present. It's about checking in with yourself. It's about feeling into your body how you're feeling so that you
Yeah.
can process it, right?
Absolutely. I think that people pleasing is the absence of mindfulness and the absence of all those things. And I think most people who get stuck in a rut in their life or go into a bad time in their lives, when they start to feel so unsure of themselves and so insecure about themselves and unsure of their own feelings, where the people pleaser comes in, which is really kind of a bullshit term. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. Because we're not doing it to please people. We're doing it so that those people will accept us. And so basically it's like being an emotional vampire is, you're going to show up in front of me, ask me to do something. I'm going to say yes, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to elicit emotions out of you that I can't produce myself. So I say yes to everything, but it actually is not people pleasing. It is the most selfish thing you could do because you're promising things that you probably can't even commit to. Only because
Yes.
I want the emotional response from you that I can't get from myself. So I think we've all fallen into that at times. I know I went through that. Nadia, you went through that. Have you had experience with that time where people pleasing, just saying yes to everything, Mary?
oh, sure. I mean, it's my desire and my need for approval and validation um, stems all the way back. I've traced that all the way back into those years of bullying, and it carries with you because I was always looking for, and I think Nadia, you mentioned a little bit earlier, that acceptance.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely. Um, Having that validation, having someone acknowledge that I did something great, or um, on the other side of thing, when I wasn't getting validation and I was doing these things, then that was an entirely different feeling, and I definitely did not feel empowered. And that took a long time for me to change. I know that the main switch in thinking started when I was 40 and I decided to take my own life back, right? Take your life back. This is mine. Those 40 years were yours. The next 40 years are mine. Mine. And then even in the face of that realization, I still had moments of needing that validation to um, prove that I deserve to exist. And that's something that I refer to a lot because burnout, overworking, uh, piling accomplishments on top of each other, I was trying to prove that I deserved to exist. And I know, Nadia, I'm sure some of your own clients, your own adult clients, deal with things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's true, like what you guys are saying about people pleasing, that I did a video on that on TikTok one day about how people please are just as manipulative as, the narcissistic person, right?
Right.
Because we're trying to elicit these feelings from the other person. So we are adjusting ourselves accordingly. So we get this. We're not too nice. People pleasers are not nice.
No.
It's codependency. You attract what you are. So if you're a people pleaser, most empaths and people pleasers will, attract a narcissist type person, So it's
Absolutely.
like attracts like. That's it, right? But Mary, you mentioned something really important about, packing one accomplishment after the other on top of the other. And there's subconscious reasons for this, right? So it could happen where, have you ever heard people say that children are like sponges, right?
Yeah.
So that's because we're operating in slower brainwave states when we're kids. So we internalize beliefs at the subconscious level before the analytical part of our brain has been formed. So if we got our report card and our parents never paid attention to us, but then the day that we got our report card and it was good, if they're like totally like giving us attention and they're like, giving all this love to us, we internalize a belief that says, I am worthy when I achieve.
Right.
And so we run after all of these awards and accolades. So the whole thing about hypnotherapy and all this kind of stuff is not like talk therapy. We don't have to go through, the past and go like talk about the past and dredge it up. It's all about, well, what do you want? Let's release the blocks and let's get there. That's the beauty about it.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And, I just want to, and I see somebody saying hi.
Yeah, I just wanted Debbie Kleinman's joining us, saying hi, Scott. Debbie, hi.
Hi, Debbie.
This is a friend of mine. We like to listen to music and all that stuff. Gary's got a new band, Debbie. We got to check it out. It's a Tom Petty tribute band. We got to
Nice.
go get a bunch of people together.
Tom Petty. Oh my God, beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
But sorry to take us off track there for a moment, but
that's okay. Now I don't remember what I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, hypnotherapy, yes. So you and I did a session, Nadia, and that was my very first time experiencing accessing a block and having it removed. And that was, Nadia, I have to say, that was a beautiful experience for me. And you have a way about you that completely set me at ease when we were doing that. So I don't know if you want to describe any more about a hypnotherapy session and what that looks like, and the subconscious things that we're digging out and taking out.
Sure. So I'll relate it to my life, since you guys were asking me about myself, kind of like embed this into the whole question. My issue or my block was a lack of self-love, right? At the core, it was a lack of self-love. For example, if a lot of things happened to me as a child, actually, where I remember being, when I was in elementary school, and one of my friends, her mom came to school with cake or pizza or something. It was her birthday. And I remember, and even other friends who their moms brought them lunches and stuff. And the thought that I used to have was, oh my God, they're so special. Somebody loves them. And you know what? Like, because I went through all this loneliness and all that kind of stuff as a child, I remember, like, I didn't think I was worthy from the beginning. And so I internalized that belief, and it sat in my subconscious mind, but I wasn't aware. And then so I would just tolerate friendships, relationships, jobs, psychological abuse, taking advantage of me, taking me for granted, using me, all of that stuff, me overthinking if I offended someone, or if people, bullying me, and then I'm feeling bad about it, and just silencing myself instead of speaking up. So instead of, like, I have gone through talk therapy, I had panic attacks, anxiety, depression, all of that stuff, which is why I speak to this, because I've been able to release that and the coping mechanisms in unconventional ways. Because, right? Because the talk therapy is like, you're talking about it, and so your body doesn't know the difference between you re-experiencing it through thought alone, or are you really experiencing it, right? So trauma sits in the body. Emotions are energy in motion.
Correct.
Right? So for me, it was releasing the block that I'm not worthy, right? So it's all of that kind of stuff. And then when I, accessed or unleashed the power of the subconscious mind, I was able to get to the other side faster.
Well, that's the
Wow.
beauty of things like hypnotherapy, EMDR, and
Mm-hmm.
trauma release therapy. It's all these things because a lot of people, trauma isn't just something that sits in one little spot in your brain. You're right; it's a full body experience. But if you might see something, it could bring you back to that trauma. But then you smell something, it brings you back to the same trauma. Those are two different parts of your brain. Then you taste something, brings you back to it. That's another part of your brain. Before you know it, every one of your senses is connected, which means that trauma is stored everywhere. And rarely, now, I shouldn't say rarely. Talk therapy is usually effective if it's really close to when the trauma happens. But if it's been down the road, you really got to go deeper. If that makes sense. And I fully feel that. I love it. Now, is it like the hypnotherapy and the things like, is that something you got involved in or something that you went to for yourself first?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say, Scott, that it's true that there are some benefits to talk therapy, no matter what, at any time,
Absolutely.
because processing it and talking about it and understanding it's another part. It's just a component. It's a holistic approach that's really important.
Correct.
No, in terms of hypnotherapy, I actually didn't have it done on me first. I actually became a hypnotherapist, and while I was becoming a hypnotherapist, had it done on me.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I guess let's go back to the change real quick. So I really want to follow up on what you're doing now, but you made this major change in your life. I want people to understand this isn't like flipping a switch. It's not like one day you woke up and you said, my life's going to change and everything's different all at once. It's a process. You have to adopt and then you find new things all the time that you have to do. So what was that kind of change like? Was it small steps, a series of small steps? Was it huge leaps? What was it like?
It was a combination of both, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because prior to that bedroom phone call moment that I was telling you about where I got the clarity, it was a year before that where I stopped and said, what the hell is this shit, right? And then that's when I started to meditate. That was the first thing I started to do. And I started to talk to the universe and ask questions and listen. I was reading books. I was watching YouTube videos. I was checking in with myself. I was meditating. I was praying. Okay. And then I was getting the answers. So I was taking little steps. But the other part of it is when I made a decision and it was clarity, it was like, that's it. I'm doing this. And then I took those bold moves, right? But it did happen like that. So basically I got the answers. I went to that meditation center. I started to change. And then I was doing yoga and meditation in the house, and my husband was not happy with what I was doing. Because he said in his mind, it was going against our religion, which is not even true. Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And so I said, listen, like I said it shaking, and I was like afraid because I didn't want there to be conflict in the house. My kids were there and I wasn't ready to leave my marriage yet. And so I said, listen, I'm not hurting anybody. You just have to think about how bad it's affecting you and you make your decision accordingly. But I'm going to continue to do what I have to do. And this right there is a big piece, because it happened because whenever he was coming, I would close my laptop because I was watching YouTube videos, searching, or I'd take the covers off of my book. So I would stop doing yoga or meditation. He even followed me to a meditation center once. So
it's like you're hiding that you're watching porn or something. I mean, it's like, oh my God, somebody's coming. You got to hide that you're doing something. You got to hide that you're doing a healthy thing.
Yeah,
it's a healthy thing.
That must be confusing to feel bad about doing something good.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very, very irritating to me, but I didn't know what to do. So I just took one day at a time, and I was accessing my breath, using my breath as an anchor to come back to a place of calm, peace, and clarity, so it could take me through this. When we would go to Thai restaurants or like sushi restaurants, and the people would say like chicken or fish or something, and if I said chicken, they'd be like, "Oh, but that's not halal," because like Muslims eat like kosher meat. And I'd be like, well, you're not eating it. I am. Right. And so I started to speak up. I started to speak up. So it was like everyday little things I would challenge myself. I was telling my brain that I could do this. So it was showing me more evidence to support that by doing it more and more and more. So yes, these changes we have to show our brain, because it's that we have that reticular activating system, which is the brain's filter. If we're afraid to do something, we do a little bit every day to move the needle into that direction. So it shows us that we can do hard things. It's like developing a new habit, developing new neural pathways in the brain that make it easier for us, right? So after that, so then it was just one thing after another. And then that was the catalyst. So I said, this is all about manifestation too, right?
Yeah.
It's very holistic. It's about spirituality, for peace, for calmness, for mindfulness, for checking in with yourself. It's about manifestation, releasing limiting beliefs and blocks, and believing and asking and waiting to receive and trusting the process and releasing. So I asked the universe, I said, okay, now I'm clear. Now I need to leave. Now you need to give me an exit plan and make it easy for me. Because I'm telling you right now, universe, I need a nice house, because I'm living large right now. I don't have to work. I could, stay home. I had like a beautiful home near the lake, and I could travel anytime. So I said, I ain't going to be no single mom in survival mode. I'm still going to look good. I'm still going to feel good. Like, I was specific. I said, I want to look good. I want to feel good. I want to have balance in my life. I want to have a nice house 2 minutes from here, but in a new area. So it's like not ghetto and stuff like that. Right. And like, I was specific. I got it all. And I didn't ask how. I literally found like this nice house, like area, like a little subdivision that was new. And we didn't even know it existed, because there was nothing around there. No grocery stores, no banks, nothing. And 2 minutes drive from my matrimonial home. I wanted to live close so we could co-parent. But a lot of things. And it was amicable. Imagine a divorce being amicable with someone who never wanted a divorce. Like, I taught him how to do laundry and cook before I left. And he taught me how to, no, he didn't teach me. He actually put together all my IKEA furniture. So we were married for 15 years. So.
Now that's a skill.
That's awesome.
So basically, it's like you can actually attract things that you are not even likely. When in school, you're conditioned to, oh, this is likely. Is it likely or unlikely?
Yeah.
Right.
Forget the stupid likelihood.
I love it. Forget it. I love it.
Forget it. Just, it's like, take the first step. The breakfast to the staircase will be there. You don't even have to ask how. You just have to tell the universe that you trust the universe has your back.
Nadia, first of all, I really wish you'd come out of your shell a little bit here, because I'm just kidding. I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm, and to have that kind of excitement to share this with other people. Now we're moving into this phase where you found this path, and now you're desperately out there wanting to share it with people. How important is it that you pass this on to people? Very
important, because it changes the whole trajectory of people's lives as well as the next generation. Like, imagine, right? Because I'm all about eliminating, like, my mission, right? Like, eliminating generational trauma. Because at the end of the day, it affects our children and their children and the next generations if we're not living consciously. And Absolutely. It's really simple. It's like you said in the beginning, it's like the only way around it is through it. If we made a couple of shifts in the education system and in our parenting, just a few shifts, we could change things a lot. Like, feel your feelings, right?
Yeah. That's a great point.
Check in with yourself. So
Nadia, I just want to tell you, you're getting a shout out from Lee Height there, saying
Hey,
hello, Nadia.
Hi, Lee. Hi, Lee. Oh my God, it's so nice. So how come they like appear and disappear?
Because I have a clicker and I can make
Scott's
them go away whenever I want.
So they come up, and then they come up to the stage?
They pop up on the side because they're making comments on Facebook or YouTube, and then I can pop them up. And Lee says, yes, through it, one step at a time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One step at a time. Yes, for real. I was going to say something about that. Yes. I don't know. There's so much to say. Oh my God.
I was going to say there's
I was going to say, okay, so remember I worked at the school board for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Now, years ago, decades ago, when before it was cool, mindfulness and self-love. So basically, I was like, the teachers are always told the kids, when you're angry, just walk away and count to 10. So I'm like, what are they saying? Like, would I walk away and count to 10 if I'm pissed off at someone? I just want to punch them in the face. I don't know about you. So I'd go into the classes and I would say it. I wasn't scared to lose my job because my only goal was to help my students by getting super honest and real. I was always hashtag keeping it real. Okay. So I'd go into our classes and I'd be teaching and the teacher would be sitting at her desk working. She'd literally put her pen down and like, look at what I'm teaching. And later they would always say like that my classes were even interesting to them. But I would go in and say, guys, how can you literally walk away and count to 10 when you're pissed off? Like you just want to punch someone in the face, right? So here's what we're going to do, guys. This is the reason. And I figured it out on my own, right? That I used to explain it like this. We haven't taught our bodies how to relax when we're not upset. How are we going to access it when we are angry? That's how I understood it in my mind by observing when I was in my 20s and 30s. And then I said, so then I started to go into their classes and put the, YouTube videos on with nature sounds, piano, whatever, and get them to color intricate designs like the mandalas, even before the adult coloring books came out. So, and then the adult coloring books were coming out, and then self-love became a thing later, and mindfulness became a thing later. And I was like, wow, we have it. We have all the answers inside of us, guys. All we have to do is just because I was connecting, I was tapping into it, but we all have it.
And that's a great point in that we do all have it, and many don't know that they have it, and many don't know they have it. They don't know how to access it. There's so many different combinations, but I think the main point is that no matter where you are in your life, no matter what stresses are happening, how you're responding, no matter what, you do have this built-in toolbox, just by virtue of being a human being. Yeah.
Yes. And the word is being, like you said.
Being
is the key word.
Well, it seems like the first thing we abandon is our humanness when there's issues going on, when we have trauma, when there's mental health, when there's addiction, when there's something going on, when there's abuse going on. The first thing that gets thrown out the window is our right to be just a human being and to have emotions and feelings and think and want and desire and dream. And we give all of that up when there's pain associated with things. And, schools, you were saying the school systems are just that close, but, school system, if we can talk about, they're fighting about everything in the school systems now, but maybe if we talked about mental health and we talked about trauma and we talked about the stigma and started to destigmatize these things and say it's okay not to be okay, it's okay to be upset, but we still have this educational system almost worldwide where it's sit down, shut up, and do your job, and don't make noise, and don't get upset, and don't do those things. So we're kind of being programmed from the beginning just to follow directions from people and to put yourself second to everything else. And it sounds to me a whole lot like you got to put yourself first. So
there is more awareness in the system now, because it's from the board down, right? Like we get all these objectives, mental health objectives that we have to follow. Everything is about what looks good on paper, in my opinion, because they're not set up. There's a lot of holes in the system because the teachers are burdened heavily to be their second parent, the student's second parent, and their counselor and their nurse and their teacher, and there's too much pressure on the teachers. I was support staff. I was working with, like I said, the behavioral kids and kids that needed extra support, as well as the entire school, really.
Right.
And I wasn't, my services were not valued. That's why I said, I can't do this anymore. Right. I mean, I would literally run into my students years later. I maybe was there teaching them when they were like 8 or 10, and then I met them when they were like 16, 18. Literally tears. I remember the last student I met, she saw me at a political event. She was working with the politicians. And she saw me from far and she goes, "Miss, is that you?" And like tears. She goes,
Oh,
Aw.
I think about you sometimes, and I'm doing what I'm doing today because you empowered me. That was the word she used.
wow.
That's
And I got that
beautiful.
a lot. Yeah. And
So we've
so
got
it just wasn't valued there. So yeah.
Yeah.
we got Sandy again, my mom, who's out there. She's
Oh,
one of
hi,
our biggest
Mom.
fans. One of our biggest. Everybody just call her Sandy Mom. That's what everybody does.
Sandy Mom.
That's so cute. That's so
Uh,
cute that she's your biggest fan and she's on here. That's so nice.
she's also she taught me to be an artist too. Is that the paintings behind me are mine, and she taught me how to
Yeah.
paint and do things.
Oh, that's
But anyway,
beautiful.
kids are amazing because they are in the present. If they're sad, they cry. If angry, they yell. If if tired, they just fall asleep. I love being present. So
Mm.
Oh, that's so true and that's beautiful. And it's crazy how like as adults we just shut that down. Like I
yeah,
said in schools and stuff. It's like sit down and shut up.
yeah. I think that reminds me of every Christmas I had with my dad. Sit down, shut up, and have fun. I'm like, okay.
We're gonna have fun whether you like it or not.
And then,
Oh, I love that.
then I became like the Christmas Nazi in my house. It's like with my kids, I'm like one at a time. Open your presents, throw the trash away, and stack them neatly in the corner before the next one does their present. And that's how I ran it.
Mm.
And for years, my kids did it. But one day they finally said, "Dad, this sucks. We just want to tear into it and be kids." And I'm like, I used to number the presents. You got to open them in a certain order. Where did I get that from? I got that from my training of this is what you do. And
Yeah.
now I still think there should be some order because I'm not all better yet, people.
No, for sure.
But I'm
It's a
much
journey.
better. But I'm
It's a
feeling
journey.
much better. Thank you.
And
Mary
it's
Kay,
a
do you have
life.
you,
I was
you
sorry.
oh, good. I'll drink coffee. Please talk.
Oh my
I feel like we're on
goodness.
the View. We're on the View.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know we've all got our mugs. We've all got our mugs.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I'm probably Whoopi then, right? Am I Whoopi?
I lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
I think we were talking about Christmas and being in control of these things and that it's a journey and it's a lifelong journey because I look at myself and I think about all the work I've done, like especially over the last 15 years, and I know there's still more. There's still
It's a journey.
more to go, and it's a journey. And Nadia, you brought up the reticular activating system earlier, that part in our brain that acts as the filter because we've got, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of pieces of information coming at us every day. What are we going to pay attention to? And if we can train our brain to pay attention to the good stuff, to notice the possibilities and the opportunities that we wouldn't have noticed before. And just that small tweak in my mind's like tuning dial, right, to be more open has brought me so many amazing opportunities in the last 5 years for sure. And even opening my mind to spirituality, opening my mind to that other stuff, that we all have inside us, may it with soul stuff or spirit stuff, whatever people call it. And so Nadia, you and I did a hypnotherapy session. I never would have done that 10 years ago. Never. Because
Wow.
I was the practical, I've got a degree in science. I'm, my corporate job is mostly in technology. And it was all about the scientific method and the practical method, the strategic and the practical, or the tactical, I should say. And I never really looked at the rest of it. What about that entire other aspect that I was missing until I opened my mind to it? And now it's all just coming. Like you came into my life, Nadia. I know I attracted you. I know. because yeah, exactly. Because I was open, because I'm open to it. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know where I was going with that, except that it's a lifelong thing, and we should be more open-minded about the possibilities for ourselves and just keep
I gotta
going.
say, the only way to be that open-minded is you were talking about control. And
Yeah,
control is kind of that painful thing that I was living my whole life. Controlled by others, controlled by everything had to be controlled and
yeah,
condensed and packed in and held together. And it was when I let go of all that control and I simply said, you know what, my life is where it's supposed to be. And then if I want to step that way, I step that way and stop trying to think about when I step that way, this has to happen. Instead, just saying, let me open myself up to step that way and see what happens.
That's
And
that's complete mindfulness right there.
yeah,
yeah.
Because that's the portal, that's the door that opens us up to these transformations that you guys talk about on a whatever weekly basis here. And that's exactly how it happened for me during my rock bottom. I said, you know what? Just be open, just like you
Yeah.
said. And just go with the flow. And that's the divine feminine energy that we are, you know, when we surrender, you know, and
Mm,
stop controlling. Like I had this need for security. That's why I stayed in the job. That's why I stayed in the marriage. I was like, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. This is the
yeah,
best it gets. What happens if I fall flat on my face? What if I fail? You know, like
mm,
I can't do it on my own. I'm not capable. I'm not competent. I'm scared. I have no support. You name it, that was my thought. And then I said, it's okay. Like when I reach that present rock bottom moment, there's no time like your rock bottom when you then that time that you're in your present moment. Like that is complete presence, you guys, right?
you
So when I was in,
yeah.
mhm,
The way you describe that,
mm,
that goes right along with addiction and a lot of other things as well, because I know what it feels like every day to be drunk and to be high
mm.
and to be sick and to be hurting and to be scared and to be angry and lonely. I know all those feelings, no matter how bad they are. The devil, you know, I know those. I have no idea if I'm even a human being if I let go of these. I have no idea what I'm capable of. I have no idea how awful it's going to be or how great. I just have no clue. There's absolutely no clue. This is an abyss that you look into. You can't see what could happen. You just got to take that leap of faith and say, it's got to be better than this, or at least, you know,
yeah.
if it's not better than this, at least I know I tried.
Mhm.
So, but
But you
I
know,
fully understand what you're saying about that.
the other thing is that you're talking about like identity pretty much.
Yeah,
Mm,
This is my
yeah,
identity. This is my life. We attach ourselves to our identity, even if it's not comfortable, even if it's not happy, even if it's not peaceful. It is comfortable though. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's still the most comfortable thing because our cells are literally addicted to familiar energy. So
familiarity.
if we're used to, yeah, if we're used to feeling a certain feeling, like say we're used to feeling taken advantage of, taken for granted, not seen, not valued, okay? And somebody does that to us again. And we think, oh, I've changed now. I'm not going to give this person free rent in my head. I'm not going to think about that person. And the next day you think about them again because we use other people to reaffirm the feelings that we are addicted to. Our
Ooh,
cells are addicted to those feelings.
amen
wow.
to that. Wow.
Not we're almost at the end of the show, believe it or not. Believe
Wow.
it or not. It's yeah, we're almost an hour in, and I hope you'll come back again sometime, Nadia, and because this is a
Absolutely.
conversation that we can continue. And you know, you're part of our family now in the podcast world. And
There you
if you're
go.
not doing a podcast, you should be doing one because you definitely got the chops for it. How can
Thank
people
Yeah.
get a
you.
hold of you, or how, you know, do you want people to reach out to you and things? How can they get a
Yes,
hold of you?
absolutely. So my website is bravezone.ca, you know, like bravery, but bravezone.ca. And yes, and my Instagram is nadia.bravezone. And
Okay.
yeah, so please do
Perfect.
reach out. Everything we talked about here today is relevant. I have mindfulness services where you can connect to that power within by being present The other thing is manifestation. I've just released a digital manifestation course. 9 videos, guys. This is 9 simple 3-minute videos with journal prompts, tips, tricks, strategies, everything I did to plot twist my life, okay?
I love it.
Holistically. And then the other thing is the one-on-one intense coaching. So yeah. And
Wow.
hypnotherapy
I
as
love
well.
it. And hypno.
So there it is.
There's a lot.
Yes.
There's a
Mindfulness
lot that people
hypnotherapy.
could. Yeah.
So it's very holistic. So my services are very holistic in nature. So I can get you to the other side. I don't focus on the anxiety or the depression. I focus on the empowerment by default. All of that goes away. So yeah.
So please check it out, bravezone.ca. You know, Mary and I, we're just over the moon with you. You think you're fantastic. I love what you stand for and what you do, and just your energy. It's contagious, and we appreciate that because I usually don't like being around contagious people, but you're all right. You're all right.
Nadia's the exception. There you go. Well,
now Nadia, unfortunately, we have to do something that that I like to do, and it's a little questionnaire for you to end our show. And these are questions that were asked by a great interviewer, Bernard Pivot, in France, but then was taken over by the Actors Studio, and they ask these questions. So it's just a series of questions, just so that people will break away from the topic and will just know who Nadia is. So first of all, what's your favorite word?
A-E-H. I'm a Canadian.
A. Oh, that's right. She's a Canadian too.
Hey, you know what? I learned people from New York City and people from Canada are almost exactly the same.
Oh,
you know,
you mean we're grumpy? Are we?
Because
grumpy?
in New York, they're like, "Hey, get off my car."
Oh.
In Canada, they're like, "Get off my car, eh?"
No, we say sorry, eh?
Oh, sorry, eh?
we're Canadians are famous for saying sorry.
Famous for sorry, yeah.
What is your least favorite word?
Oh, my least favorite word is can't.
Ooh. Nice.
What gets you excited, spiritually, emotionally, physically? Just really gets you excited. What turns you on and gets you emotionally excited?
Buttercream icing cupcakes is the first thing that comes to my mind. Okay,
Perfect.
so
that's perfect.
I'm all about balance, right? So I just came back from a hot yoga class, but I can eat a buttercream icing cupcake now. Yes.
Yeah.
I love balance. Balance is my favorite.
Okay. What turns you off? I mean, what is just something that you just hate when you see something or hear something? What is something you just hate?
People who are just mean and nasty to other people. I hate when people silence other people. Like, they shame them, they silence them. I hate that. I hate when people are very intimidating. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. What's your favorite curse word? All right.
Perfect. That's a fan favorite.
It's a noun, it's a verb, it's everything, people.
That's right. That's right. Versatile.
Okay, what sound do you love?
Birds chirping.
Oh, birds chirping. I love that. What sound do you hate?
The alarm clock.
Okay. If you could try something just with no limits, but you could try a profession, what would you like to try if you could try anything?
Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh.
I never thought about that. It just came out.
I would vote for you, Nadia, just for the record. I would vote for you.
I'll mail one in from Florida. I don't think it'll help, though.
Who knows?
What profession would you never want to do?
Be a doctor.
Okay. Final question. If heaven exists, just making the presumption that heaven exists, and you're at the pearly gates, what would you like God to say to you when you arrive?
You earn this.
Ooh. Freedom.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
I love that. That's like so out of the box. Very original, unique. I love that you ended it like this is beautiful. I want to say thank you to you guys. You guys are so much fun. I love your
Ah,
energy. This is such a beautiful show. From everything from your backgrounds to your setup to your energy to your questions to your just everything.
thank
Well,
you, Nadia.
thank you, Nadia. And it's, and it's finding people like you. Okay, Lee,
Yeah.
thank you. Lee's got to add in, yes, cupcakes. Yes, cupcakes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, Lee. No, it's meeting people like you that make it worth it. When Mary and I started this, we were doing a couple shows, just her and I. We started bringing some guests in, and we started to realize it's like between the two of us, we're coming into contact with such cool people out there in the world, and to give them a platform and for us to continue to learn, we appreciate you bringing something to us because it's so huge. So thank you so very much. Thank you for your honesty, and more importantly, thank you for being part of the solution in the world and not part of the problem. I really want to thank you for that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right, Mary, final thoughts?
Oh, final thoughts. Again, thank you, Nadia, for being here with us, and we're definitely going to have you back. What I'd like to say to our audience here is there are just so many possibilities available. You're never too old. It's never too late. There's more. There's more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's always your message. I love it, Mary.
Yeah.
Scott, you said something at the very beginning that I really wanted to not forget to say. And you said that I'm 25. And the reason the reason I really love that is because our beliefs create our reality. If we consider that we're in midlife now, then we die like the next, you know what I mean? Like that's our midlife. But if I always say I'm 25 also, I stopped celebrating my birthday. And our beliefs create our reality. It literally affects the cells in our body. We can literally turn back I believe it. I believe that we can turn back the time. Yeah.
I fully agree. And Nadia, I mean, how old can a spirit be? All right. Because that's what we are. That's what
we are timeless.
That's what
limitless,
we are.
Timeless.
That's absolutely
ageless.
right. So I want to thank
Beautiful.
everybody for joining us. This has been a great show right here on The Life Between All or Nothing. For Scott J, Mary Kay, and our special guest, Nadia, we hope everybody has a good week. And remember, tomorrow when you start your day, do 2 things nice for yourself and 1 thing nice for somebody else, and you'll never have a bad day. Everyone out there, take care. We'll catch you next time.